Before we go any further, I want you to imagine something for a moment. What if the reason he pulls away, goes cold, or becomes distant isn't because he doesn't care, but because you're treating his ego the wrong way? Most women think they need to impress a man, reassure him, or constantly give more to make him stay. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you. A man's ego is the gateway to his emotions. It's the invisible switch that decides whether he sees you as nice to have or someone he can't stop thinking about. Men don't fall in love through logic. They fall in love through impact. The emotional impact a woman has on their sense of identity. When a woman knows how to trigger a man's ego in the right way, she becomes unforgettable. She becomes the woman he wants to chase, invest in, and prove himself to. And no, this isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding male psychology at its core. Because the moment you stop feeding his ego in predictable ways and start challenging it in powerful feminine ways, he'll feel something he can't explain. A pull toward you, a need to rise to your level, a desire to earn you. In these next few minutes, I'm going to show you the subtle ego shifts that make a man go from maybe to madly obsessed. So stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see male attraction forever. Most people talk about attraction as if it's this mysterious force, something that just happens between two people. But men are far more predictable than you think, especially when you understand the psychology that actually drives their desire. And it has much less to do with your looks, your body, or even your personality, and far more to do with how you make him feel like a man in his own mind. Because at the end of the day, male attraction begins with ego alignment. A man is drawn to the woman who activates the part of him that wants to win, protect, pursue, and prove. Not the woman who convinces him, not the woman who overextends for him, but the woman who makes him feel something he can't easily get from anyone else. An emotional challenge mixed with a sense of reward. That balance is what hooks him on a primal level. See, if you give everything up front, your attention, your energy, your validation, he feels safe, but he doesn't feel compelled. But the moment a man senses that he can't easily predict you, that he has to work to understand you, that you see your own value and won't automatically inflate his ego just because he wants you to suddenly, his mind switches gears. You shift from being available to being impactful. And impact is what creates attachment. Men crave the feeling of rising to meet a woman's standards. They crave earning a place in your world more than simply being allowed in. The more he feels that being with you elevates him, the stronger his attraction becomes. And that's where most women unintentionally lose their power. They try to appeal to a man instead of activating the part of him that wants to pursue. When you subtly challenge his ego, not tearing him down, but refusing to overly feed his self-image, you ignite something deeper than physical interest. You trigger his internal competition, his desire to be chosen, his need to feel significant in your life. Once that switch flips, he's no longer evaluating you, he's pursuing you. And that's when attraction turns into emotional obsession. If you ask a man what makes him chase a woman, he'll usually say something vague like chemistry or a good connection. But behind the surface, there's a much deeper psychological mechanism at play. One most men aren't even consciously aware of. Men don't chase because they're told to. And they definitely don't chase because a woman tries hard to impress them. They chase because something inside them gets activated. Something ancient, instinctive, and tied directly to how they see themselves. At their core, men are driven by the desire to earn what feels valuable. Not to be handed it, not to be guaranteed it, but to fight for it, to claim it, to feel worthy of it. When a woman presents herself as someone he can have instantly, without any emotional investment, he may feel flattered, but he won't feel pulled. The chase begins when a man senses that a woman has options, standards, and self-respect, yet still shows selective interest in him. That combination makes him feel both challenged and validated at the same time. What men will never admit is that they want a woman who triggers their competitive instinct, not in a toxic way, but in a way that awakens their inner drive. They want to feel that choosing her means stepping up, paying attention, and showing consistency. When a woman doesn't immediately give him everything he wants, while still being warm, open, and feminine, he subconsciously starts to invest more. An investment is the foundation of attachment. But here's the nuance. It's not about acting unavailable or playing childish games. It's about carrying yourself with quiet confidence, emotional depth, and boundaries that signal, I value myself and only someone who values me too gets access. This makes him chase not because you're withholding affection, but because you're demonstrating worth. The truth is, men chase what makes them feel alive, inspired, and slightly challenged. They chase the woman who embodies mystery without being distant, confidence without arrogance, and warmth without overgiving. When a man feels he has something meaningful to rise to, that's when the chase begins. And once he starts chasing, his emotional investment grows faster than he ever realizes. When people hear the phrase feminine power moves, they often imagine manipulation or exaggerated behavior. But true feminine power is subtle, grounded, and incredibly magnetic. It's the kind of presence that raises your value without you having to announce it. And what most women don't realize is that men are exquisitely sensitive to these small shifts. They notice them, they feel them, they react to them, often without understanding why. One of the most powerful feminine moves is practicing emotional composure. Men are drawn to women who don't let every little thing shake them. When you don't over-explain, overreact, or over-pursue, you instantly signal confidence. A man feels a different level of respect for a woman who can stay centered even when he tests boundaries, delays responses, or pulls back slightly. Not reacting in panic is a quiet yet profound demonstration of self-worth. Another powerful move is using selective attention. Give warmth, but not constantly. Show interest, but not unconditionally. When you respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively, he feels like he has to earn your attention, and that feeling is intoxicating for a man. It makes him rise to a different level of effort, because he senses that your energy is not handed out freely. Then there's the power of unpredictability, not in a chaotic way, but in a lightly mysterious, emotionally rich way. When you're not always available at the same times, not always responding with the same predictable tone, not always initiating the conversation, you create a natural pull. He becomes more curious about you, more attentive to your signals, and more invested in understanding who you are. And perhaps the strongest feminine power move of all is maintaining your individuality. Keep your interests, your boundaries, your priorities, your goals. Men fall hardest for women whose worlds don't collapse into theirs. When he sees that you're already fulfilled, and that he would be an addition, not a replacement, his attraction becomes deeper and more respectful. He doesn't just want you, he wants to belong in your life. These subtle, intentional behaviors don't just raise your value, they reshape how a man experiences you emotionally. And once he feels that shift, his entire pursuit changes. There is one ego trigger that almost no man will admit affects him. Yet it is the very thing that can turn mild interest into intense, focused obsession. And it's not about playing games, withholding affection, or pretending you don't care. The real trigger is this: a man becomes obsessed when he feels that being with you elevates the way he sees himself. Not in a superficial way, but in the way you subtly challenge him to be more, while still making him feel chosen, even if only a little. Most women either give too much validation too fast, or they pull away so sharply that the man feels rejected. The sweet spot, the trigger point, is when a man feels like he's close to winning you, but not quite there yet. It's that psychological space where he feels encouraged, but not guaranteed, and that tension ignites something powerful in him. When he senses that your attention is meaningful but not automatic, that your presence is warm but not needy, his ego shifts into "I want to be the man she chooses" mode. The truth is, men crave significance, not flattery, not constant reassurance. Significance. When you treat him as someone with potential, but not someone who has already earned full access to you, he feels both inspired and challenged. You're essentially telling his ego, "I see what you could be, and I'm drawn to that, but I'm not settling for the half version." This makes him want to show up stronger, communicate more clearly, invest more consistently, and put effort into connecting with you. The obsession begins when he realizes that your approval isn't cheap. It's not something he can get from a few sweet words or minimal effort. He has to step into the version of himself he's proud of, and when he does, even if it's just slightly, you acknowledge it, not with over-the-top praise, but with subtle appreciation that makes him feel seen. It's this emotional contrast, your high standards paired with selective softness, that hooks him deeply. He starts thinking about you when he wakes up, replaying your words, wondering what you think of him, wanting to impress you without feeling controlled. You become the woman who brings out his best without trying to fix him. And that, more than anything, is what makes a man obsessed in the most genuine, healthy way. Most women think being irresistible means putting on a performance, always looking perfect, always saying the right thing, always staying one step ahead. But the truth is, the women who men find most magnetic aren't performing at all. They're not trying to impress or convince anyone. They're simply rooted in a kind of quiet authenticity that feels refreshing in a world full of people trying too hard. And that effortless quality is what draws men in without you needing to lift a finger. The first part of being irresistible without trying is owning your natural emotional rhythm. You're not always upbeat, you're not always available, and you're not always ready to engage. And that's okay. When you let yourself show up in a grounded, genuine way, instead of forcing constant positivity or charm, you create a sense of emotional safety. Men relax around women who are real, because realness feels trustworthy. It feels rare. Another part of effortless attraction is the energy you bring into a space. Not loudness, not intimidation, but presence. When you walk into a room with calm confidence, shoulders relaxed, gaze soft, mind collected, you send an unspoken message. I like myself, and I'm not performing for anyone. Men instantly pick up on that vibe. It's captivating because it carries a sense of self-approval. And someone who approves of themselves doesn't chase, doesn't cling, and doesn't compete. She invites, simply by existing in her own lane. Then there's the power of selective vulnerability. Being irresistible doesn't mean being mysterious to the point of coldness. It means choosing when to let someone see the real you. When you share a small personal detail, a genuine laugh, or an honest moment, he feels special, not because you're trying, but because that softness came naturally. Men crave that subtle emotional intimacy, and they treasure it because it feels earned. But perhaps the most powerful form of effortless attraction is your ability to enjoy your own life. When a woman is engaged with her passions, friendships, hobbies, and dreams, she radiates a quiet happiness that can't be faked. And men are deeply drawn to women who carry that kind of inner fulfillment. It's magnetic, inspiring, and soothing all at once. Being irresistible without trying isn't about doing more. It's about being more of what you already are. And when you embody that energy, men don't just notice you, they remember you. A man invests more in a woman not because she's the most beautiful or the most available or the most accommodating. He invests more when the mindset she carries changes how he experiences himself around her. Your mindset shapes the energy you bring, the standards you hold, and the emotional environment he steps into. And when your mindset positions you as a woman of value, his investment feels natural, almost inevitable. One of the most powerful mindset shifts is believing that you are the chooser, not the chosen. When you genuinely see yourself as someone who evaluates, who observes, who receives energy before giving it back, you automatically behave in a way that makes men step up. You stop chasing potential and start responding to effort. This shift alone rewires the dynamic. He feels the need to show initiative, consistency, and intention because he senses you have options, even if you haven't said a word about it. Another essential mindset shift is approaching dating from a place of curiosity rather than attachment. When you're curious, you're open, relaxed, and present. You're not rushing to define the relationship or reading into every message. This energy removes pressure from the interaction and makes him more comfortable investing emotionally. Men invest more when they don't feel evaluated, controlled, or pushed, but they feel drawn in by your openness. You also need the mindset of, I don't chase clarity, I create it. Instead of asking, does he like me? You observe how he shows up. Instead of wondering where things are going, you pay attention to the patterns. This mindset tells him without words that you don't tolerate inconsistency. A man respects and invests in a woman who treats her time and attention like something valuable because he knows he can't play games or float in and out. A deeply transformative mindset shift is recognizing your emotional independence. When you don't hinge your happiness on his validation, he senses freedom instead of pressure. He sees a woman who can enjoy her life with or without him, a woman who enhances his world instead of needing to be rescued by it. That energy is irresistible because it signals strength and stability. When you adopt these mindsets, you become the kind of woman a man is proud to invest in. Not because he has to, but because the experience of being with you inspires him to show up better, try harder, and stay consistent. His investment becomes a natural response to the value you embody. When a man pulls away, most women panic. They assume something is wrong with them, or that he's losing interest, or that they need to do something immediately to fix the situation. But here's the truth. The way you respond in that moment determines whether he comes closer or distances himself even more. Pullbacks are normal. They're part of the male emotional cycle. And once you understand that, everything changes. The first thing to remember is that men retreat to process stress, feelings, confusion, pressure, even attraction. A pullback doesn't automatically mean rejection. It often means he's recalibrating. And your job is not to chase him during that time. The more you chase, question, or try to reconnect before he's ready, the more overwhelmed he feels. That pressure pushes him further away. Your calmness, on the other hand, pulls him back without you saying a word. The most powerful move you can make is giving him emotional space while maintaining your own emotional stability. Continue living your life, stay consistent with your routines, and don't let his temporary distance disrupt your sense of self. Men are highly sensitive to whether a woman collapses into insecurity or stands firm in her worth. When he sees you steady and centered, he feels safe returning because he knows you aren't dependent on his constant presence. Another important move is not rewarding the pullback with instant reassurance or over-availability the moment he comes back. If he disappears for days and you respond with excitement, warmth, and no boundaries, he learns that you tolerate inconsistency. Instead, match his energy with quiet confidence. Be kind, but not overly eager. Be open, but not overly accommodating. This doesn't punish him, it simply signals that your life didn't freeze while he was figuring himself out. When he does reconnect, follow his effort, not his words. If he takes small steps, you take small steps. If he shows real effort, you respond with genuine warmth. This balanced response creates emotional safety for both of you. He learns that he can return without being interrogated, but he also learns that your attention isn't automatic, it's earned through consistency. Ultimately, how you handle his pullback teaches him how to treat you moving forward. When you stay grounded, self-respecting, and receptive, but not desperate, you create the perfect environment for him to return with stronger intention, more clarity, and renewed investment. Attraction isn't created through grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's created through the small, almost invisible behaviors that shift how a man feels when he's around you. These subtle signals bypass logic and speak directly to his emotional instincts, creating a sense of pull he can't fully explain. And what's powerful about these behaviors is that they don't require effort, performance, or manipulation. They simply require awareness. One of the most potent subtle behaviors is giving him moments of undivided presence. Not constant attention, not clinging, but those brief moments where you're truly tuned in. When you look at him with real curiosity or genuinely listen without rushing to respond, he feels seen in a way he rarely experiences. Men are starved for presence. Those small exchanges create warmth that lingers in his mind long after the conversation ends. Another subtle behavior is maintaining a soft, calm tone when discussing something emotional or uncomfortable. When you can express your feelings without attacking, dramatizing, or escalating, he experiences you as emotionally safe. Emotional safety is a rare and powerful form of attraction for men. It makes him want to open up, stay close, and invest more deeply. Then there's the subtle power of pacing your energy. Matching his effort, not mirroring his inconsistency, but responding in proportion to what he gives, creates a balanced dynamic he deeply respects. He senses that your attention has value, that it must be reciprocated. This encourages him to step up without you having to say a word. Playfulness is another understated attraction booster. A light tease, a playful glance, a moment of shared humor, these micro moments create emotional chemistry that logic can't manufacture. Playfulness lowers his guard and makes the connection feel easy and natural. But perhaps the most magnetic behavior is the way you carry yourself when he's not the center of your world. When he sees you engaged in your passions, connecting with others, pursuing goals, or simply enjoying your own life, he feels drawn to your independence. You become someone he admires, not just someone he desires. That admiration fuels deeper attraction. These behaviors work because they communicate confidence, emotional intelligence, and self-worth without you having to say anything. They subtly shift his perception of you from someone he likes to someone he feels compelled to move closer to. And the beauty is that they build attraction that's stable, mutual, and lasting. Turning a man's attention into genuine devotion isn't about grand promises or constant affection. It's about creating a consistent emotional experience that makes him feel understood, valued, and inspired by you. Men naturally seek relationships that enhance their sense of self. And when you create an environment where he feels both challenged and appreciated, his attention naturally deepens into devotion. One of the most effective ways to do this is through consistent emotional calibration. This means responding to his efforts with warmth, but not overdoing it, and maintaining your boundaries without guilt. When he feels that his gestures, big or small, truly matter to you, he becomes motivated to invest more. He begins associating your presence with positive reinforcement, a sense of achievement, and emotional satisfaction, which strengthens his desire to be fully committed. Another key element is creating shared experiences that leave emotional imprints. These aren't necessarily extravagant dates or gifts. They can be small, meaningful interactions that make him feel understood or admired. A well-timed compliment, a laugh over a private joke, or remembering a detail he mentioned weeks ago creates a sense of intimacy and significance. Men become devoted when they feel that their contributions and efforts are recognized and appreciated in a meaningful way. Subtle displays of high value also accelerate devotion. Maintaining your independence, pursuing your passions, and expressing self-confidence signals that your life doesn't revolve around him, but that you include him in it by choice. This dynamic triggers a man's instinct to protect, provide, and invest, because he feels honored to be part of your world. Finally, turn attention into devotion by practicing patience and measured reciprocity. Don't rush emotional milestones or seek constant reassurance. Devotion grows when he feels he's earning it and that his investment is noticed. Men often fall hardest when they feel that the woman they care about is both desirable and unattainable on her own terms. By consistently applying these principles, attention transforms into deep emotional commitment. What starts as interest and infatuation evolves into a genuine desire to show up, contribute, and prioritize the connection with you. Devotion isn't forced, it's earned through the combination of presence, value, and emotional alignment. As we wrap up, it's important to remember that making a man truly invest in you isn't about tricks, manipulation, or trying to control his feelings. It's about understanding human psychology, setting clear standards, and embodying your own value. Everything we've covered, from activating his ego, mastering subtle feminine power moves, and creating emotional tension, to cultivating your own independence and presence, works together to create a magnetic effect. When you operate from a place of confidence and clarity, attraction naturally transforms into devotion. The key takeaway is this: men chase and invest most deeply when they feel challenged, valued, and emotionally connected. Your behavior doesn't have to be dramatic or over the top. Small, intentional shifts in your energy, boundaries, and interactions will create a profound effect over time. The man you want isn't drawn to you because of what you do for him, but because of how your presence makes him feel, alive, inspired, and motivated to rise to meet your standards. As a next step, begin applying one principle at a time. Notice your patterns, where you may be overgiving, chasing, or collapsing emotionally when he pulls back, and replace those behaviors with grounded, confident alternatives. Observe how he reacts. Over time, these subtle changes will transform the dynamic. The goal isn't to control him, it's to create a space where he willingly chooses to show up, invest, and stay committed. Finally, remember that your value is inherent, not earned by his attention. When you live fully in that truth, you become irresistible without effort. Attraction becomes effortless, investment becomes natural, and the connection becomes deeper than you ever imagined. Take these lessons, Practice them consistently and watch how the man you desire shifts from casual attention to genuine devotion.